must say that the first thing I have shown, it was a work that gave me the basic impact, actually, to his work. And I think says a lot for his work. Is a piece, if I remember, it's called like The True Art is Kept by Reliving Mystic Truths. This is a masterpiece that is very essential. It is 60s. It's a work from 60s. I don't remember the exact date, 67, something like this. It's a little bit after he did started his personal exhibition. And this, for me, it is very essential. Mostly in that time, gives a new mind for what it comes after. It's like preparing a new field of understanding what is art and what is the role of the art in the world. And in ironic way, from one side, but in a very honest way in the other side, because indeed, then we have all these pyramids and all these things, and all these pairs of hands, and all these kind of mystical truths that comes from these raw materials that we have used to see around, put it in a new order, in a new calculation in our system of understanding. The piece of art, it is not that you see something and you like it. It's not in this category to do something that you like. It is something that states a new mind, a new understanding of things, new order.
What you said is really very beautiful. I mean, that this idea that he works with raw materials and extend them beyond beyond materiality itself towards a realm that one could describe as mystical in some way. And it's interesting that you said that that's not something that could be conveyed just strictly by visuality, right? So that it's not something that can be reduced to an image and be trapped in an image. So that's possibly where sound comes into play with his work. Sound is the privileged medium of something that seems to exceed materiality and seems to be so closely connected with the invisible, right? With the realm with no material determinations, at least.
That's something that I found very interesting, is that he is using a category of materials, of different materials, and extends the borders of these categories. I mean, extends the border of the understanding of the sound in something that it is not sound anymore in the understanding of the language. And a kind of a material like a neon or glass or I don't know, that it is not anymore this determination that we have used. I think this, it's like every category of raw material capitulates a new space in our understanding. And it is what gives the first kick. You don't see something that it is not impossible to imagine, but you see it and it works immediately to you, to your unconsciousness, and gives you a new field of understanding things. I remember this one work that I don't know if many people love this work, but I believe that this is a very important work. I remember a room like a cage. It was a cage that he had created. It was like a corridor done by like
double steel cage.
Yes.
There's one cage inside another cage, right?
Yes, exactly. It was something that when I met this, I stand and I didn't know how to behave on the material, and that was the most interesting impact. That I couldn't criticize and I couldn't deal. What is the conversation with the item, with the idea? I was a little bit confused while I get the object and I can determine the object. I cannot determine it inside. I cannot put it in a conscious order. And that's what's the important thing, that the works are working through your life. It's you meet them and then you continue, and this is working inside you.
That's super beautiful, the idea that it's not an image or imagination, but it's a feeling. It's something which is more primary, I would say. We have in the exhibition a work which is for beginners, so it's the starting of something. So simple. I have freckles just remembering the work. So for me, it's a kind of invitation to reboot yourself, would speak like the computer, and start to allow yourself with a different understanding than the one taught at school. It's so unrespectful in a way, considering our master class or our way we behave socially, to go to something a lot more essential, as well as the sound in all the works are very, very special, but they bring you to another physical shape, so to speak. And I have the same with the concert, with the music, with the great conductor like you. It's not image, it's physical, it's deeper. It's a kind of different conscious of your body and the space.
It is an artist that every work you meet, it is like to be the first and the last work. Of course, there is a sequence and link with that, but to put a lot of works under one in one space is like putting many spaces in one space, and putting some rooms in one room. You know what I mean?
But Teodor, one room already contains many rooms. I think that you can see it in the opposite way. You can see that it's not putting several rooms in one room, but it's sort of unwrapping the rooms that are already existed in one room. This particular show, or which is similar in some ways to the show in Venice in 2009, it's about creating phrases. Those phrases are already insinuated in the work. So it's like one work is calling for another work to resonate with, and you just simply try to articulate those phrases, which are endless in a certain specific given space, right? So for me, doing a show with Bruce, it's just simply trying to expand the space, if you would like, that already exists in the articulation between the works, which is already inherent to the work.
Isn't it difficult that?
I think it's fun. I mean, I think it's unavoidably, it's a totality. I think that the show in Punta della Dogana is a totality, it's like one work.
Yes,
it's unavoidable, it's unavoidable. In this particular case, the show doesn't have objects, basically. It's a ghost.
There's no object. There's repetition of things as in his work and in his life. And often in music, it's about repetition, and with a little difference because you repeat.
This because inside, in his advanced mind, he searches for naturality. The biggest success of the unnatural is when it's shown as natural. And that's a very difficult thing. And some objects seems like maybe you don't recognize with the first time because it seems natural, and then opens when you are try to put it in determination in your mind. The same it is with a very soft sonority, with a very with a big pianissimo. When you have a very, very, very tiny pianissimo, most of the people, the first that they see is that they don't listen to anything. But then they start and they listen to the sound. After 5 minutes, it's quite loud.
But going back to what you said about putting that doing a show of Bruce is like putting several rooms in a room. I think it's also like showing the post-production in the production. I mean, showing the production as always having some form of post-production. And I think that as curators, you start from there. And that's why I think that we see these conversations also as part of the show with Caroline.
Something I wanted to say, Caroline, also that really gives me a profound idea of for the work of Bruce is that he's not showing you something.
No.
It's if he could give you this piece of art without using anything, he could project the idea inside you without projecting anything. I think he would use this method. It's like teaching a new way of looking to things. It's like whispering, teaching your upper senses a new way of dealing with understanding.
It's beautiful. It's exactly how we thought the show. Nothing is to be seen, is to be lived. You don't, it's a walk. I imagine the people starting to walk differently in the exhibition between the sound, the rawness of the studio, which is the work itself. So it's not an image, and you are yourself in the studio, and you have to think, what am I going to do with the studio? The studio is just a space, like you have a space you're waking up in the morning. What do you do with your space? Everything is so, we're quite radical in that exhibition because we don't show any of the objects that he made. We focused on all the experience you can live with his work. So it could be the corridors which shut down the sound. So you will, like you said, probably at the beginning you don't feel, and then suddenly you understand the sound is changed.
I think that that's the most important pieces. For me, this is the greatest thing. These corridors, it's a kind of experience that you cannot characterize. There are many similarities in your life, but nothing like this. It's great.
It's beautiful. I hope we can come. We don't know anything nowadays, but I hope we all meet in Venice together.
I was wondering, Theo, I mean, this might be too rough, but is there any specific musical composition that you would think of when you think about Nauman? I mean, does it make you think in musical terms at all? Is there any composer or any specific piece?
If it would be one piece that I would put to have a kind of similarity of what he's doing, this will be the 433 of Cage, because it's a very noisy piece, actually. I used to play this piece a lot of times, and I say play while it is silence, because last time I did this piece in the room of Mozart house in Salzburg, in Mozarteum, in the garden. They have the room, the wooden house when he composed the Zauberflöte in Vienna, and they brought it in the garden of Mozarteum. So it was after a concert, and there were some friends, and I took them in the room of Mozart. I closed the door in the darkness, and said, now we're going to play 433 of Cage. And it was something super noisy, in a way that silence has a feeling, because it's the greatest treasure we have, because we never get it. It's the most expensive thing because it's the most rare thing. Even in the vacuum room that it is super isolated, you listen to your blood and your heart. So you never have the absolute access of silence. Never. It's a very rare experience. So the closest you go to these borders of this experience of silence, the loudest becoming the experience. So I wouldn't ever imagine that a sound can be relative to this kind of the mental sound, the imaginable sound that he has in his works, because his works, except the natural sound, has a kind of inner sound, a flavor of an inner sound of the unspoken, the flavor of the unspoken. And in Cage, you have a kind of similarities. When you get after the second and the third minute, you get in a weird tube and a corridor, and you discover with new senses this reality. Because first of all, you haven't used more than one person to be, let's say, 20 people sitting for minutes without saying nothing and without moving. It's something unnatural, but theoretically it's natural. So the brain gets really discoordinated after the second minute because our body says something is something natural, but it is something wrong. Am I dreaming now? It is the reality. It is not. I mean, you're flirting with different dimensions. So that's what is happening with me with Bruce's words. I flirt inside me with the different dimensions. And this is, I think, the goal of his work.
I would suggest that we start the installation by playing the piece.
I think that we can have Teodor coming to Teatrino and do a concert with that.
But also pleasure. Yes, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But also when we start when we meet with everyone at the Punta, to start like that.
After the piece, you are very sensitive. You become sensitive, and then you have this impact of these works, of these spaces. Then you can reflect a lot of things.
It's exactly how I feel with the Nauman, though. I don't put it the same words than you, but you change your size. The concert does that too.
And there is also a spiritual truth inside. There is something very spiritual. Through the physical object, there is something metaphysical.
That's something I feel a lot when I hear your way to direct. It plays with different parts of yourself that each time you read, you discover. That's why it's great to go often to the concert. And same thing with Nauman. Even if you know the work, there's something active which actives you, which wakes you up in a way.
Activates you in a new field. Carlos, please play 433 in the beginning. I think will be a good start.